And we are back with Dr. Gaucher from the Geosciences Department. And Gaucher, thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Now, I remember you telling me one time that how you came to America and how you went to college through all that. You have a very interesting story. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Where do you want me to start?
From the beginning, because it's a really interesting story.
Yeah, actually, I mean, after I finished high school in Jerusalem, I was planning to go to school in Turkey. I had a scholarship to go study city planning at the American University in Ankara, Turkey. And of course, I was excited about that. I went to Ankara and I started to learn a little Turkish. The instruction was going to be in English, but it's, you need to get a little language so you can get around, talk to your neighbors, talk to some friends. And it was great for a little while. And then I guess Turkey was almost in a state of civil war. The university student population was mostly leftist, liberals, as most colleges, I guess, populations are. And the administration was right-wing administration appointed by the military, who at that time ruled Turkey. So we started to have some action on campus.
Now, were you part of that action at all?
No.
So
I had nothing to do with that.
Okay, all right, just strictly studies.
Again, I didn't actually know what was going on because they'd be speaking in Turkish, and we're the international students, because this university was supposed to be for the entire Middle East. So every country had its own quota. And I was one of, I guess, few students from Jerusalem that went to the American University in Ankara. But when I say action, it really wasn't fun. I mean, I remember one day I was in the shower. It was snowing outside, much like what you have in Edinburgh today. And then people are knocking and screaming. I have no idea what's going on. Evacuate. What do you mean evacuate? I don't even have a towel. So I grabbed a towel and ran out in the snow.
Really?
Barefoot.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had bombing in the student cafeteria.
Really?
So they closed the university down a week before finals.
Wow.
So I figured, okay, I'll go home, see the family. It's not that far. So I went home and I asked my friends who were studying somewhere else to let me know when it opens. And then as soon as it opens, I can fly back, get ready to take the test. So it opened. I flew back. The next day it opened, but it only opened for one day. They had another attack.
Really?
So they closed it for a whole year. So I decided I can't wait years to finish one semester. So that's how come I came to the United States.
Okay. And you went to college in Buffalo, correct?
Yes. Before Buffalo, actually, I guess I was reading a lot of Ernest Hemingway. I had romantic ideas about the South. So even though my friends warned me, don't go there, I decided to go to Ole Miss, University of Mississippi. So I got there, and within a few hours, I guess I realized that Ernest Hemingway is all fiction.
Right.
So, but it was too late. So I ended up spending 2 years in Ole Miss before I transferred to SUNY Buffalo.
Okay. Speaking of Hemingway, what's your favorite title by him?
Well, I mean, I like all of his work.
Okay.
I like more. Yeah. So I guess when I was a teenager, I loved to read. So I read at least one novel a day.
Wow, that's really impressive. I'm lucky to get one a semester. And
well, again, I guess I didn't do as much studying. Don't tell anybody. But I enjoyed reading. So I didn't really need that much sleep. So I spent more time reading than sleeping.
Okay. Now, you said that you were originally from Israel, from Jerusalem. What was like daily life for you, like as a young child growing up there? Because it's sort of like a hot spot in the world.
Well, when I was growing up, it wasn't that hot. And in all honesty, I think probably daily life was similar to probably what daily life is in many other countries. I was active on campus. I was on the soccer team, on the chess team. I went to the Y every day. And
so you were really engaged, really involved.
Yeah, so I was involved in many different activities. And I had a full-time job. I was working at night while I was going to school during the day. And so I was busy.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, you are like Mr. International. You've traveled to, what, close to 50 countries, and you've taught.
Well, again, part of it is work, part of it is, fun, part of it is I really do enjoy learning about other cultures and countries.
So would you say that's what attracts you to travel, like the ability to look at different cultures, so like meet new people? Is that what?
Again, I mean, it's very difficult to really appreciate a culture unless you live within that culture. So it's easy to say, oh yeah, I love France, but you really don't know what France is like unless you go to France.
Unless you live there.
So, and I guess I like when I travel to actually live like the natives would.
Okay.
So I like to eat local food, not Americanized food. And I know when I took our students overseas, I insisted that the first week, no American food. You have to try the local food.
Yeah.
And then you have to try to speak the local language, even if you just learn a few phrases, you know, respect for the language and culture.
Now, when you travel, how long do you stay in a country at a time?
It depends. I mean, sometimes it's a few days, sometimes it's a few weeks, but I've traveled in some places, I guess, many times, so I actually ended up spending years, like in Japan or China or Turkey or Kuwait. Or
now, you've taught in a couple different countries, right? Like China, I know, and like Japan.
Yes,
and like
yes.
Italy.
I taught in Japan for 2 years.
Okay.
And I taught in China for 1 semester. And of course, I took Edinburgh students to Russia and Italy and Morocco, and China. And
very cool. Now, what was like your favorite country to teach in? If you could go back again, which one would you go back to?
I don't know if you could say favorite, but it was really interesting. I guess very different. I enjoyed teaching in Japan and China for the sheer fact that, I mean, education is so highly valued there. Yeah, in China, I guess I sometimes talk about this in class and students think that I'm exaggerating. You go into class, the students would have erased the blackboard, took attendance, clean the classroom. They actually sweep the class. Yep, they clean everything. They don't have custodial staff.
Wow.
Students are responsible for keeping and maintaining the classroom in top shape.
Well, that's probably good because then they have respect for the classroom and like they're not like throwing things during class. And
that's their classroom.
Yeah.
So, and again, when you go there, you see that they're eager to learn. You'll never see anybody trying to text during class.
Or like on Facebook on the laptop.
Again, you will have everybody come in time. And it's incredibly competitive. I mean, I talked to some of these students one-on-one, and for many of them, the family had to spend their entire life savings just to give them an opportunity to get an education. So they appreciate that opportunity and take advantage of it.
So, like, if you were to compare students here at Edinburgh to, say, Japan, you would say that they're much more dedicated to studies?
Well, more than anything, they take their education much more seriously than we do.
What do you think we would have to do over here to become more engaged like they are? What do you think?
Well, again, I don't know if we don't really have to become like the Japanese or the Chinese, but somewhere in between the two extremes is probably some happy medium. I mean, you don't have to go to school 240 days.
Right.
You don't have to do 11 hours of homework a day, but certainly do more than 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So somewhere in between would be, I guess, a good compromise.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what was it about being a professor that really attracted you, that you said, I really want to do that with my life and I want to go down that path?
Actually, it was just an accident. I had no intention of teaching. I guess I had charted my life so that I would work for an NGO or the United Nations. And I had gone to the United Nations and visited with some of friends and colleagues that worked there. But unfortunately or fortunately, my advisor in graduate school had asked me to give a presentation on doing business in the Middle East. I was, I guess, studying international trade, and a lot of the students were businessmen. So he thought it would be useful for them. So I agreed to do that, and I did that in the class. And he said, well, this was really interesting. Why don't you do it for my other class, for my graduate class? And I said, sure. So I did it for his graduate class, and of course it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. The students seemed to respond well. And unfortunately for him, the next year he had a heart attack. So he couldn't teach. Of course, he was my main advisor. So I had all the work done, but he was in the hospital, so nothing was being done, and somebody had to teach his class.
Okay.
So they asked me to teach his class, and that's how I got into teaching.
So it's just kind of like
so it's
occurrence?
Basically an accident.
Yeah.
No, I mean, an unfortunate accident for him, heart attack, that delayed me for 1 year in graduation. I was working day and night to finish my, I guess, dissertation quickly. But he was in the hospital, he couldn't do anything about it. So I felt bad for him, but that's how I got into teaching.
Wow, that's really interesting. I mean, just like one event really just redirected your whole life for that.
It did, because unfortunately, I guess what happened is when I went to the United Nations, I guess I had maybe an idealistic image of what UN development program would do. And then I realized that much of the money goes to bureaucracy and goes to per diem and transportation of the people that are supposed to help these poor countries. So unfortunately, 90% of the money ends up going to the rich who are supposed to help the poor.
It never
and the poor themselves. So I didn't want to be part of that, I guess, enterprise. And I decided that I would enjoy teaching much more.
Well, we're very thankful that you became a professor.
Well, yeah, it's a great job. I can't complain.
I know last year you were named Educator of the Year here at Edinburgh.
I guess a couple of years ago, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's impressive. And also back in 1999, you were honored as being the Geographer of the Year for Pennsylvania.
Again, when I was in Japan at the time, and one of my colleagues here who teaches elementary school in Erie, I used to write, I guess, an article about Japanese culture every week, and he decided to use my articles to teach about Japan in his classroom. So he sent it to some colleagues, and they also wanted to use it. So he's the one that I had no idea he nominated me, but he did. And
okay, that's impressive.
So,
I mean,
I did, I guess, a few articles about, Japanese food, Japanese holidays, Japanese marriage, or family, and so on. So
now, when you go back over, are you going to keep a blog anymore? Like when you travel, do you blog about that kind of stuff?
I don't blog, but I guess when I first did, I did some articles on Hong Kong, some articles on Taiwan, on Japan, and many of these actually were published in some textbooks and journals.
Okay, wow. Very cool. Now, is there any country that you really want to go to but you haven't gotten to yet? Like anyone on the top of the list?
I do have, I guess, a few countries on the short list. There are just so many countries, so many places to see, and so little time.
Yeah.
But I certainly would love to see Brazil and Peru and Argentina and New Zealand, and when they don't have an earthquake.
Right. I mean, you got to time it right,
But you never know. Yeah, but there are, of course, so many great places to see.
I'm surprised you haven't been to Brazil yet, because I know we spoke about that in World Geography.
Yes.
We did a segment on that.
Yes. Yeah. I do love learning about other places, but there's nothing like being there.
Right. You can't really appreciate what they have unless you're there to see it. Now, then we kind of have some fun questions that we like to ask the professors. If you were in a life or death situation and you had one character to come help you, it can be from a movie or a book or from television, who would that character be to come save you?
One character from a movie?
One character, yeah. It could be superhero, anybody. Who would you want to come to your rescue?
One character that can help me out in a life and death situation.
Or we can expand it to a team. Maybe like the A-team or something along those lines, like a team or one character.
I see where you're going. I guess it's hard for me to think of the A-team or Superman.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of situation you're in. Different heroes might be more useful in different situations, but I guess in this case, Superman, he could probably save you.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's a good character. And then another question we have is, what is your favorite band or musician?
I really listen to many different kinds of music, so I couldn't really tell you that I love this particular singer or artist, because I listen to many different kinds of music, even international music.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at what I have, I guess when I'm working out, I could be listening to different music. It could be from Japan or China or the Middle East or Greece or France.
What kind of music do they have over there? How is it compared to what we have? Is it?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I guess increasingly we have global music. So you could be listening to the same music with different lyrics.
Okay. So like a remix kind of?
Yes. I mean, in many cases, it's the same song. They just change the mix and the lyrics.
Because I know a lot of bands over here, I know Van Halen, for instance, over in Japan, they're huge.
Sure.
And some artists over here lose their fan base here, but then over in Japan, they're huge and whatnot.
So I mean, what you see is that music, you could go probably anywhere.
And it's universal.
You'll hear American music for the most part. You might have different lyrics, but it's the same music.
Okay. All right, very interesting. You have a very interesting history and past, and it's just amazing talking with you, because you are Mr. International.
Well,
when I think of travel, I think of Dr. Gaucher.
Well, I guess there are a lot of people that travel a lot more than I do, but maybe it's the weather here, so I have to escape Edinburgh once in a while.
You got to get out of the cold every now and then. I give you credit because you've been here for almost 20 years, right?
Yep.
That's a lot. You put up with the snow and the cold.
Well, I guess the summers here make up for the winter.
I don't know about that, but you know, I guess.
Yeah.
But well, thank you again for being on the show
Oh,
today.
you're welcome.